but it was just like a test, and I can remember like, yeah, I just failed that test. And so whatever they got going on out here in LA, and they trying to figure out if they can get me in some kind of conversation about whether I was attracted to 14 and 15-year-old women. I just failed that test. So I don't think you're.
This one is something I usually don't do, but I listened to part of this story, not the whole thing, and I wanted to react to it with y'all. So there's apparently a former NFL star that was interviewed by Jason Whitlock on his podcast that talks about his experience at one of these Diddy parties with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Now, I don't know how credible this story is. And again, usually I don't do this, but this is the first person that I know of that I've seen that has spoken about what they experienced being around Jay-Z at this type of party. So Jason Whitlock says a former NFL star, Larry Johnson, describes a party hosted by Jay-Z and Beyonce in the mid 2000s. He says, and then he goes to quote some things that are said here. Let's just go ahead and listen to the interview. This is interesting.
When Jay was going after B was a very young woman. Now, I did a Rockaware photo shoot in Colorado, and I think it was during the wintertime of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there, actress Jamie King was there, Jay was there, B was there, and he rented this house, and we were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house, and we were watching LeBron play, and after the game, it had to been like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there, and I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework, but she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on, which I could respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild. Like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy, or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like...
This man said, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. I'm sorry if, again, you never know if you're in this situation. First of all, I just told y'all, I'm not going outside like that. I would not be in this type of situation, period. God forbid I'm ever in this situation. If I'm dancing, there's music, it's late at night, and a bunch of kids start running out. I'm out of there. What do you need to be awakened for, my guy? Come on, man.
What did she just say? And then I didn't pay no attention to it. And then, you know, obviously the liquor took hold of me and I had to leave. So I said bye to everybody and left. But those kids remained. I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves, but the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming to me. So when I hear something like this happens, I can't really discount it and say, oh, he could never do this. Because I'm hearing stories, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and I've been in situations where something don't sound or look right, and it's usually involving children.
Larry, you've just blown my mind, and so I'm gonna have to ask you to.
Yo, chill.
I just want to be clear on what I just heard. In 2006 or 7,
yeah,
you're in Colorado at a winter party with Jay-Z and the people with Rock Nation. And
it was the people who helped out with the photo shoot. It was a winter campaign that we shot. Mm-hmm.
And it's at some very nice mansion somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah, up in the mountains somewhere.
And Beyonce is sitting relatively close to you, and there's a child there.
Yes.
And this is after 11 o'clock at night. And she says, "Doesn't this look sexy?"
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce, the singer.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Yes.
Y'all believe this? Stop the cap. How old was the child? We'll do some research on Larry Johnson, but this is the crazy story. Sorry, y'all, I'm a little distracted.
The reason why I believe you, I'm not going to put a name to this. The reason why I believe you is like they get you out there and they float little test bubbles out there to see if you bite. It's like going fishing. Does the bob, did I get a nibble? Did the bobber go down? Because I've been in that situation. I'm not going to name names, but it was a prominent sports media figure that I had a social gathering at my apartment in downtown LA, Apex building. Probably 20 people inside my apartment. And someone tried to engage me in a conversation about, can't you understand why older men find 14 and 15-year-old women attractive?
I'm just talking about his history.
And I was like, no, I really can't. And then they followed back up, and I was like, and then I just walked away, and I made a mental note like, hey, this person is on some different shit, quite frankly. And I was like, and I kept, and it shocked me because I wasn't expecting this from this person, and it's always stuck with me.
This is wild.
And I would elaborate and give a few more details, but it would potentially give away the person if I gave any more details. But it was just like a test, and I can remember like, yeah, I just failed that test. And so whatever they got going on out here in LA, and they trying to figure out if they can get me in some kind of conversation about whether I was attracted to 14 and 15-year-old women, I just failed that test. So I don't think you're.
This is crazy.
Lying or exaggerating. I think that is real out there in Hollywood. It's part of the reason why I left Los Angeles. And Larry, to me, it's like you've watched the Godfather 2 movies, mafia movies. And what the music industry in Hollywood is much like the mafia. It's like the Sopranos in terms of you can't become a made man until you've killed somebody in the mafia. You gotta make your bones, and it sounds to me in Hollywood and in the music industry, if you want to make it to the top,
I appreciate you, Dennis.
Must be involved in some sort of sexual deviancy before and they must know about it before they fully trust you. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree, because we all know how shameful it is to be messing around with a child, no matter what the age. And they know that the majority of the people in this country or in this world do not sit by and will not let anybody abuse children. So that's more of a shame thing they can control you with. Now, sacrificing.
Whose kids were these? This story, I don't know. I mean, were they just some random kids that just came out of the party? Like they opened up a gate and all the kids like, what? Oh man.
Somebody, that's personal. You know, not many people can add those or connect those dots of who did what and who did this. But it happens. But when it comes to sexual deviancy, as you said, it's more of we don't want the whole world to know what you've really been up to, so you have to do what we say do. And I think that's how they move. And like you said, I think it's like putting a worm on a hook. They see who bite. They're not gonna come up to you and say, hey, you like 5-year-olds? They're not gonna do that because you look at them weird, or you might just punch them in the mouth. But they'll put you in situations where if young children are around, they'll move you into it. It may not be a 5-year-old, but it'll start at a 19-year-old at a party. It'll go from a 15-year-old at a party. Then you show up at somebody's private home and residence, and it's like a 9-year-old. And then they keep going to see how far you can go. And I don't want to imagine it, but I know they're going as far as they can go until they get into animals. And I know when it comes to sexual deviancy and it comes to lust, there is.
Hold on. Hey, yo. How do you know what is Larry said they do? Oh my gosh. He said they do this with kids on their way to doing this to animals. Is that what he's saying? And Dennis Byron's in the building. Y'all give it up for Dennis, man. Dennis says he's about to drop the receipts. So y'all make sure you look out for that. Dennis, I'd love to hear your take on this. This is wild. How you know that, Larry?
Come up to you and say, hey, you like 5-year-olds? They're not going to do that because you look at them weird, or you might just punch them in the mouth. But they'll put you in situations where if young children are around, they'll move you into it. It may not be a 5-year-old, but it'll start at a 19-year-old at a party. It'll go from a 15-year-old at a party. Then you show up at somebody's private home and residence, and it's like a 9-year-old. And then they keep going to see how far you can go. And I don't want to imagine it, but I know they're going as far as they can go until they get into animals. And I know when it comes to sexual deviancy and it comes to lust, there is no backstop to that until you reach an animal. And that's where, if we talk about the days of Noah, that's exactly where sexual deviancy ends up. It ends up with animals.
I was looking at the beard and the hair, and I was kind of like, I don't know. But now I think I kind of see what type of time our guy Larry is on right now. Dennis says he has a weird imagination. That's an understatement.
The other element, and this is because I used to drink and I used to smoke a little weed, but at some point I came into an awareness like, oh man, if you go look at most of the mistakes I've made in my life, alcohol was involved, and it's like they get you, and this thing about LA, they get you at these parties, get some liquor in you, get some weed that may be laced with something, maybe they spike your drink, and then it's like when Beyonce says, doesn't that look sexy? Well, your inhibitions are down, your self-control is down because they got the liquor, the drugs in you, and the next thing you know, you're doing things you wouldn't do sober, and they just happen to have a camera on it and pictures.
These niggas lacking.
I did not watch this full thing. Jason Whitlock saying this, it sounds like an admission. This is weird. I'm not an expert on this, but for somebody to say this, like, yeah, you get a drink in you, you get some drugs in you, and there might be cameras around, and then, maybe you do something that you wouldn't normally do, right? It happens to all of us. Jason Whitlock, what the hell are you saying right now?
Until you reach an animal. And that's where, if we talk about the days of Noah, that's exactly where sexual deviancy ends up. It ends up with animals.
The other element, and this is because I used to drink and I used to smoke a little weed, but at some point I came into an awareness like, oh man, if you go look at most of the mistakes I've made in my life, alcohol was involved. It's like they get you, and this thing about LA, they get you at these parties, get some liquor in you, get some weed that may be laced with something, maybe they spike your drink, and then it's like when Beyonce says, doesn't that look sexy? Well, your inhibitions are down, your self-control is down because they got the liquor, the drugs in you, and the next thing you know, you're doing things you wouldn't do sober, and they just happen to have a camera on it and pictures of it, and then they have you for the rest of your life. Right. And that's what I see. I mean, I just, not to go to, but it's just like, I look at the dude, Baby from Cash Money. I'm like, he's kissing all these dudes in the mouth, and he got this prison mentality. I was just like, all these guys, they're not in control. They accept the money, and then they promote the wickedness. It's very, once your scales come off your eyes, it's so easy to see, and I'm glad you connected it to the Bible, because that would be the last thing I would want to bring up. It's like, if you look at the story of Moloch and just how child sacrifice, Leviticus, just go to Leviticus, child sacrifice, it's always been a part of the devil's plan. And again, that's why the Bible will tell you there's nothing new. You know, we keep thinking all this stuff is brand new. No, man, they've had different forms of this since the beginning of time, and we just can't see it. If you enjoyed that video,
I did not, Jason. I did not enjoy this video. I will not be subscribing. That was insane. I don't know how we got to child sacrifices and doing stuff with animals, but boy, we got way away from the topic on that one. Sheesh. I guess y'all tell me what you think. Do you think there's any truth to Larry Johnson's story? Why is he talking about it now? Jason Whitlock, you got a lot of explaining to do, sir. That was weird. That was that was weird.